Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to pop in here. Been writing a workbook on working with dreams and kind of reframing in a way the way that I speak about dreams. And I think the biggest thing that I'm getting is that I don't really care about dreams for the sake of talking about dreams. It's not really why I'm here. It's not really why I do the work that I do. I do it for one reason only, and it's because I don't want to find the meaning of dreams. I want to find the meaning of life. I want to get why I'm here, what I'm doing, how to do what I'm doing. I'm not really interested in dreams as a puzzle or anything else. And I even realizing in some ways that the work that I do really isn't. Dreams are the guidance system that I use for the journey back to oneself. But a lot of times people will introduce me to, have you heard about this dream work or that one? Or, yeah, and there's always something interesting there for me, but in that way, it's not really about the dreams for me. The dreams are here to guide you home, and playing with them in any other way really just doesn't interest me. I think that we're here for a reason. I think that for a lot of us, the lineage that we grew up in doesn't fully give us the guidance that we need. I know for myself, I'm starved for guidance. I'm starved for mentors. I've been disappointed, unfortunately, too many times. And to the point where, and maybe that's to the good, like I've just decided that really what we need is each other. We don't need another teacher. I don't think you necessarily need me as a teacher. I think we all need a community that holds space for us to learn that the guidance we need exists within us. Partly in our dreams, but also partly in our bodies, in our cells. Some part of us knows how to make this journey home. I was writing about how in the process of coming into adulthood in this world, we leave these parts of ourselves behind, these qualities of ourselves behind. And then we come into our adult lives, and most people are just dealing with the symptoms of that loss. They're dealing with the depression or the anxiety, or it's 1,000 things that they're trying to find peace, they're trying to find wholeness, but they don't realize that, or maybe it's just too overwhelming to realize that what we need is inside of us. What we need is what we've lost, what we think of, and a lot of times we'll refer to these lost parts as being in the unconscious realm. But what's confusing about that terminology is that these parts aren't unconscious. They're alive. We're the ones that are unconscious. We're the ones who need help to wake up, to see. And dreams are a really miraculous way to guide ourselves on that journey. So whether you're meditating or praying or doing yoga or doing therapy or any other kind of personal, emotional, spiritual growth path, we need some really personal guidance on how to get to know parts of ourselves, get to know, remember, if you will. And I love that word, remember, that we've lost. And we also need help looking at how we lost it. It takes a lot of energy to have these parts driven out of us. We don't let go of them lightly. We don't fracture our psyche, or our psyche isn't fractured lightly. I know there's a scene in the Golden Compass or a whole part of the story that's about these children who have their daemon. It's the word they use for kind of a spirit animal, if you will, severed from them. And I remember one of the things about the book and the movie is that it takes an enormous amount of energy to sever that spirit from who you are. And that's maybe part of the overwhelm, because the story associated with that severing is often very, very overwhelming. But the hopeful side of that story is that that energy is still there. The energy of that part of ourselves, the energy of that quality of ourselves that's been driven underground. There is an equal and opposite energy that wants to come back into consciousness. That's why, despite what a lot of people say, I don't think dreams are that confusing. I think once you understand this framework, then, and once you in a way stop trying to understand them and actually build a relationship, then what happens is the energy of that consciousness comes into being on its own. And it's not hard to find. What's hard is like getting past the overwhelm of the way of the way that our culture teaches us to dismiss or forget or obscure these parts of ourselves, or even the need for these parts of ourselves. Even in the healing world, there tends to be this focus that doesn't really address this deeper issue. Most of the meditation, yoga, prayer practices, growth practices, not all of them, but most of them don't have this framework. So how do you deal with this core issue? How do you not get caught up in the world of symptoms if you don't understand the core problem? Part of what's kind of shocked me in writing this book is I've realized that I need to start less with the dream and more with this framework. In a way, the calling the work that we're doing together dream work is kind of a misnomer. It's really more of a reassociative process, for lack of a better word. It's taking these parts of ourselves that have gotten dissociated, have gotten scattered, driven into the unconscious realm, and learning to come back into relationship with them. And what dreams do is guide us in that process, but the actual process isn't the dream. The actual process is the reassociation. One of the things I've realized over the last week in working on this workbook is that I can work with people without the dreams, because I've learned from my dreams how people have lost parts of who they are. And I can work with life situations, I can work with life moments and guide people, not as well as I can with the dream, but that's where the dream comes in. The dream gives you a very personal understanding of that reassociation. It will show you the forces that scattered these pieces in your psyche, drove them underground in some way. It'll tell you those stories it'll tell you your story, not this more general story of reassociation, which I think is a super important story, but we all need to understand it in the context of our own experience. That's why I love putting the two together. I'm playing around with the idea that maybe what we call this work is reassociative dream work. But that's kind of irrelevant at this point. Really, what's important is that you understand this bigger framework when you're working with your dreams. And when you understand this framework, then the dreams can give you like the specifics, help you to remember, recall, bring out of the unconscious realm and into your consciousness. They'll guide you in a way that nobody can guide you without this framework and without the dream. All of that. There's maybe 1,000 other things I could say, but that's what I'm processing. Glad to be here with you today. I hope this is helpful in some way. If it is, please like, subscribe, consider sharing this. Anybody who's working on this bigger issue of coming back to themselves, then please consider sharing this video. I'd like to grow this community, help people who want the help. So thank you. Appreciate you being here with me. And until next time.